So there are rodent studies that have demonstrated that prenatal or early postnatal exposure to paracetamol, the chemical component of acetaminophen or Tylenol, that this can result in altered behavior, including changes in locomotor activity, anxiety-like behaviors, and changes in vocalization, as well as sex-specific neurobehavioral effects and gene expression involving the prefrontal cortex related to glutathione metabolism, DNA damage, and endocrine and immune pathways. The molecular mechanisms proposed include oxidative stress, interference with prostaglandin synthesis, and disruption of hormonal signaling. These studies typically use dosages in these rats of about 150 milligrams per kilogram per day, which doesn't necessarily correspond to what we use in human exposures in human therapeutic exposures. Typical doses of acetaminophen administered to pregnant women and children are about 10 to 15 milligrams per kilogram per dose, with the maximum dose of 75 milligrams per kilogram per day. So the animal studies that have been done, they use dosages that are just way higher than any physician recommends, or there are any guidelines to recommend for clinical care. And with human studies, there isn't a direct correlate. All human studies are observational, including cohort studies, biomarker studies, and meta-analyses. And these are inherently limited by confounding variables that you can't necessarily establish causality. Biologically plausible mechanisms is important, as well as these animal studies, but you need to be able to translate it into human studies to ascertain causality. But that's not always possible. So high dose acetaminophen is dangerous for reasons, including for other reasons in the body, including severe acute liver failure, and doesn't really seem to have a therapeutic benefit of any sort. So it's not appropriate for any human clinical trial to evaluate these animal models at those sort of levels and at such doses. This would be considered unethical. So in the White House's fact article that they put out, they refer to two clinical studies and one systematic review. I know they have a bunch of bullet points, but really when you go down the links and see what's being said, from actual peer-reviewed literature, you're talking about two clinical studies that they talk about and one systematic review. So let's go through all of that.